Hello everybody and welcome to Mutant Monday. Excuse me. Welcome to Mutant Monday. So we all know there's no comics coming out, so we're filling the time here on this channel reviewing some of the oldies but goodies. And today what we're going to be looking at is X-Men number 58, Enter the Man Called Havok. Got my copy over here. Obviously we won't be using that for the review, we'll be using the Marvel Masterwork. Gotta say, I love the cover of this. I've always loved the cover of this issue. But I also love the sort of opposite color representation of the same design. It's very cool. So let's not waste too much time. Let's get into the issue. So we'll start it off here by giving the credit where credit is due here. The script was done by Roy Thomas, and the art was by Neil Adams, inked by Tom Palmer, lettered by Artie Simic, and so X-Men 58. Good story here. Now, just a little bit of a primer. So Havok is Alex Summers, the younger brother of Scott Summers, Cyclops. He has been in a few of the previous issues, and basically they're trying to figure out how to control his powers. He kind of has the powers of a pharaoh, doesn't know how to control them, but we'll get to that. At any rate, this we're titled here Mission Murder, and so you can see that this is going to be an issue that involves the Sentinels. As you can see, a Sentinel there. The Sentinels are alive. This is not good news for the X-Men, of course. So we flip the page over here, and you can see just more battling with the Sentinels, and then there's the TV reporter talking, saying, we all know of the strange uncanny powers wielded by the evil entities called mutants, but this time those powers will not save them. This time they battle a foe stronger than any they have faced before. For I have improved upon the mammoth androids built by my father Bolivar Trask, the man whom the X-Men murdered. So, he's on TV here talking about his new and improved Sentinels. He says I have redesigned my father's creation, equipped them to adapt instantly to whatever force they encounter, so that they may fight fire with fire, water with water, and speed with endurance, cold with scalding, steaming heat. In short, ladies and gentlemen, these Sentinels must and shall prevail. This is not a great sign. We all know his father, Bolivar Trask, not the nicest guy in the world. And it's also neat here, too, how he's, come up with these Sentinels that can adapt to whatever they're facing. Kind of saw that in X-Men Days of Future Past. So, still here battling away with the Sentinels. And here we have the anchor here saying, please show our viewers how we can be certain that the Sentinels will not rebel against humanity again. And he says, only the X-Men's trickery ever made that it appear that they did that, Judge Chalmers. And, this is all great stuff. And he says, still, in the event of any major malfunction, I can assume remote control of the Sentinels. I guess using some sort of helmet type thing. And so here we see a shot of a Sentinel. He sees 3 mutant forms on the left, and he's saying, Bobby, no, your ice images won't help us. And so, you know, like I said, the Sentinels are really giving it to the X-Men in this book. It's not a great thing. But when the Sentinel smashes through all 3 Icemen, he realizes that they were all fakes, but does manage to string up the Beast. And you can see here Bobby says, you know, it never occurred to him that none of them might be the real McCoy, or rather the real Bobby Drake. And, you know, you can see here he's, you know, freezes the tendril of the Sentinel, which releases the Beast. Or renders it brittle enough that the Beast can escape. And he says, so you're free now, and what are you gonna do? Face it, we can't hold out forever, and nobody's gonna find Lorna, that's his girlfriend, if we both get caught. Before we continue, can we just take a second here to just admire how awesome Neil Adams' art is? Because it's quite awesome throughout this entire issue. So up here, Iceman is creating an ice wall to protect against the Sentinels. Knows that it's not gonna last, but you know, yeah, he's doing his best. So, you know, the Beast takes this moment to say that he's gonna vacate the premises, but don't worry, he's gonna find Lorna for him. He swears that he will. And here the Beast is just lamenting, like, why did I let Bobby sacrifice himself? I'm the oldest and he's the youngest, and that's just, it shouldn't happen. It's just not great for the Beast. He's not feeling too good about himself. The Sentinel takes off with Bobby, and Beast is just like, oh, I guess they just needed to capture one, but that of course doesn't make him feel any better about the situation. And as it says, half a world away, Angel comes down and tells Cyclops that, you know, there's still no sight of his brother, that Alex has vanished, and, you know, it's not a great situation, but Cyclops is asking Angel to be quiet and to listen to this report. And he's telling Hank also to listen to the report. And so we see here coming from the television or radio, reactivated Sentinel captured Bobby at your place, Scott. I don't know how long I can evade those that roam the city. And so here we have Angel saying, the Sentinels? Somebody gave those hunting weirdos a new lease on life? Then I'm winging it back to the States, and I mean now. And Cyclops is saying, you know, don't be an idiot. You've never made a transatlantic flight before. Besides, alone the Sentinels will absolutely destroy you. And then we get another message here coming from the TV. Sorry I haven't had time to referee your altercation, but I've got promises to keep to Iceman. Cheers. So Beast was on the radio there. And then Jean is saying, Hank, wait, but he is signed off. Angel, of course, can't wait for the jet. So he is going to take off because he's the avenging angel and he has got some work to do. So here we have the start of a little argument with one of Bolivar Trask's closest friends. And he's saying that the public still isn't totally convinced that all mutants are evil. And he's actually having second thoughts himself. And as for the X-Men that the Sentinels captured, and then Bolivar Trask's son says, he's perfectly alright, Judge Chalmers. The reporters can talk to him after I've rendered him harmless. And so basically what he's doing is he's putting him in this chamber where he is going to steam the Iceman, basically, and just steam him until his powers are gone. And that's what happens here. And here we get to our Bolivar's son again, saying, you know, 3 years ago I swore the X-Men would pay for my father's death, and pay you shall. And now for a surprise in Bolivar Trask's son's, I don't know, laboratory, wherever the hell they are. We see the Iceman melted and just passed out on the ground. And then we see this figure here, who we don't know who it is yet. But this is actually Alex Summers. And he's explaining to him that, Alex is explaining to Bobby that he let Trask put this monkey suit on him. He told me he'd let the rest of you alone. Obviously, he was lying. He wants to know who he is at first, but then realizes that it's Alex Summers. And he says, yep, Scott's own baby brother in the flesh. Or to use the corny code name they gave me, a guy called Havok. And while we're on the subject of names, who's the green-haired goddess racked out behind me? And so then he looks, and it is in fact Lorna, his girlfriend. So, you know, Trask is obviously up to no good. He's a Trask, so that's not surprising. Here, Alex is explaining that these concentric circles just measure his energy output. They let him know when it's time to cool down. So, you know, I don't smash these walls like eggshells. And he said he's here because he unfortunately made a deal with Trask. This very much upsets Bobby Drake. So, like, saying, like, what kind of friend are you? How could you do this? And Alex replies, fighting's your hang-up, Drake, not mine. You can fully control your power. I can't. There are still things you don't know about me. Yeah, so, you know, it is what it is. And so we see here, now we have the Sentinels sort of attacking Bobby and his girlfriend. And then Havok is saying, let the girl go, Sentinel, your leader promised me. And so Trask's word doesn't mean anything, and he says, well, mine does. And then he says, well, let her go. And then he unleashes his supersonic Havok powers, which are never a great thing. And then, you know, we got Trask here saying that a Sentinel was ruined by a mutant. He couldn't possibly believe that this is possible. But, you know, goes in there and shoots him in the I guess, gem thing that's in his crown that perhaps controls things. And, like, they're telling him here, don't fight him. You know, just, you know, deal with what you can. And then he starts saying, the living monolith walks again. And then he's laughing and he says, did you say the living monolith? Now, previously in an earlier issue, while exploring an archaeological site, they find this pharaoh who believes or is sharing the power with Alex Summers. And in order to have full power, he needs to drain Alex Summers of his power, and vice versa. So he's afraid now that that monolith is going to return. So, you know, not a great sign. And up top here, the news anchor is just talking about how this whole Sentinel mutant thing is rather familiar, and, you know, maybe it's getting a little old. But here we see again Alex, who is transforming. As he is thinking to himself, they are right. I feel as if, yes, I'm changing once more into the living monolith. I'm growing before their very eyes. And then he says, fools, you don't see I no longer need you. I need no one. When my transformation is complete, then you shall then you shall not complete it, mutant. And so, you know, here he is, and he's gonna cause some problems for some sentinels, but they spray him with this liquid adhesive that will keep all of the cosmic rays from getting to him, and he will be helpless. Next, we see Angel trying to go save the day, but he's being tracked by two sentinels. He's amazed that they can maneuver as well as he can in the air, and they eventually shoot out a net that catches him, and they are gonna bring him in, and all of that is not so good for Angel. And so obviously people are seeing this. Some people are saying, oh look, Sentinels captured another mutie, that sort of thing. And then Jean says, you know, isn't that Warren or Angel? And then Scott says, the hardest thing of all, Jean. She says, what can we do? And he says, the hardest thing of all, nothing. And so he starts to feel the presence of Jean, and he says, thinking to himself, it's gotta be Scott and Jean on that plane. Gotta put up a fight, get their mechanist mind back on me, and yeah. And the Sentinels are saying, we were programmed only to capture one mutant, number 8. And so they're to proceed to Alpha Station. Now, here you see a couple more mutants that are now looking to be in trouble as the Sentinels breaking through the wall. Mesmero is there with Magneto, and Magneto tells him to hold them off, that he's preparing a defense, and just try to hold them off for now. And he doesn't do a very good job of that, of course, but then it turns out that, you know, it's actually not Magneto, it's actually a robot. And then Mesmero is like, a robot? What the hell is going on here? And here you can see Trask is, you know, he says, so Magneto temporarily eluded me, simply because he had an android doing his dirty work. Never mind. What have you to report? And you can see that there's a jet landing here. He's saying it's mind-staggering. I had no idea that this would be of the inventiveness. And he says, Trask is saying, most of it is the Sentinels doing, sir. I'm fast discovering they have their own built-in logic system. And so, you know, everybody seems happy over here. And then we see that he's got some mutants, and they are in test tubes, basically. And he's, you know, the judge's response is, good lord, they're alive, but in some sort of suspended animation. Quite impressive, Larry. I guess it's Larry Trask. But I directed them... I directed that their treatment be humane, and his response is, humane? How can one be humane to the monsters that aren't even human? And, you know, he says he's getting more and more sinister, and he says, basically, you know, I'm going after the assassins that killed my father, and my Sentinels will carry out the work alone. Here on this bottom panel is just sort of a flashback. We see younger Trask here has this medallion around his neck, an oath that he swore when his father gave it to him that he would never remove it as long as he lived. And so, then we get some more, action here, and everybody's wondering what this noise is, but the noise is Banshee. He's doing his screaming, flying thing, but it doesn't last too long, unfortunately. And Trask says, "Look, Judge Chalmers, that's still another instance of mutant treachery. He surrendered only to gain entrance to my secret base, and yet I'm glad it happened. For now I must do what I must do." And he says, "Hear me, my sentinels. Secure all mutants in the area and destroy them." And I think this is his helmet that he's going to put on. That's going to allow him to control all of the sentinels remotely. And then the judge is saying, "No, you young fool, no. Why your sudden concern, Judge," he says, "unless you're a mutant lover or perhaps a mutant." And then he says, "You don't know what you're saying, boy, and so you leave me no choice. My medallion, why are you..." And he rips his medallion off, and he says, "I'm sorry, lad, I didn't want to." Says, "It's all right, sir, I was wrong to order even mutants killed." Then the judge responds, "Then you still don't understand my true purpose." And you hear in the background, "Attention sentinels, prepare to execute all mutants in the vicinity." And now that he has this evil medallion taken off of him, he wants them to stop. He's ordering them to stop, but they aren't listening to him. They aren't obeying him. And why aren't they obeying him? And he says here, it says, "Because Larry Trask, you are no longer our leader. When the other human removed your medallion, you fated that right and your life." And he responds, "What are you talking about? Let me go, number two. You're making a fearful mistake." And the response is, "It was you who erred Larry Trask, and what you did not know that the mutant presence we detected and which we were programmed to destroy was, dun dun dun, yourself." And so that's the end of the issue. Very good issue. Gotta love Neil Adams' art. It's absolutely wonderful. Great book. I love these later stories in the X-Men before they stopped the new stories and started doing reprints. These later ones in the 50s and 60s, they started to change up the costumes a little bit so everybody was a little bit more distinguishable from one another. You got different writing. You got Neil Adams with his extremely unique art style that just about everybody loves. So this has been X-Men number 58. So thank you for joining me here on Mutant Monday. Mutant Monday number 2. And, hopefully there won't be too many Mutant Mondays, but I got lots of X-Men books, lots of mutant books, so no risk of running out of material. So if you like this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave some comments down below, and if you'd like to have a chat with me, you can always hit me up at sonofthemorning7 over on Twitter. Thank you once again for joining me here today.